A little bit more on the immigration debate with Texas Governor Abbott in a few minutes. But first, the DNC is currently working to end the holding pattern that started last May when WikiLeaks ousted DNC Chair Debbie Wasserman Schultz. It seems like so long ago. Delegates are voting right now, and in just a few hours, the Democratic Party will have a new chair. But despite a message of unity, the meeting's agenda seems to isolate groups by causes, separating LGBT women and ethnic groups into separate meetings, something that we've heard a lot of complaints about from some Democratic operatives here. Let's bring in Tyrone Johnson, Democratic strategist, to tell us if playing identity politics will help rebuild the Democratic Party. Great to see you, sir.
Good to see you as well.
It struck me yesterday, one of your fellow Democratic operatives and strategists said to me that what we experienced in November was total market failure of the Democratic ideals and the Democratic Party message. And he said now we need to reset. You agree with that?
Absolutely, and I think we got to correct, but we can't overcorrect. Listen, the American people, particularly in states that made up the majority of the Electoral College, they voted for Donald Trump. But let's not forget that Hillary Clinton received almost 3 million more votes than Donald Trump did in the election. I think the key here is that Democrats, we've got to sort of recreate our jobs message. And let me be more specific. If you really look at working class white voters, particularly working class undereducated white voters, these are folks that President Trump did very well with during the election. We've had a message for a long time that we want to strengthen the middle class, and that's a message I think really appeals to educated white voters. And so what we've got to do when we come out of this convention today is whoever the leader is, we've got to really articulate how we're going to make sure that we have good paying jobs in America again.
Can you articulate that message while at the same time articulating so many of the other messages we hear coming out? Climate change, transgender rights, various other sort of, what one person said to me is the fringe issues that seem to be taking center stage so often.
Yes, and I think, look, we've got to be very bold and intentional about those issues. I mean, we cannot run from who we are. The Democrats have been the party of all people for a very long time. You got to remember, this is the first time in Republican history at a GOP convention where you really saw the GOP really even mention LGBTQ rights. They had a gentleman who actually spoke at the convention. And when you look at also this whole conversation around transgender, it's something that really a lot of folks are kind of have mixed emotions on, but it's something that President Obama did. And it had a very favorable rating. I just think at a time when you have a president of the United States of America that has a 38% approval rating, I think the American people are looking for him for leadership, and I think there's a door opening for Democrats here.
But how do you walk through that door? How do you become something other than what Hillary Clinton which was essentially, I'm not Donald Trump? How is the next two elections, 2018 and 2020, how do the Democrats make that about something other than a referendum on not being Donald Trump?
Well, we do it by starting today to say, listen, yes, Donald Trump is the president, but we cannot make it about just resistance to Donald Trump. We've got to talk about three things. We've got to talk about jobs. I cannot stress that enough. I don't care who you are, whether you're a Democrat or Republican or independent or black or white, Hispanic or Asian. If you can give someone a good paying job in America, that's something that they like. We also got to basically help and figure out how we're going to deal with this health care system that we have right now with many of these protests that you see.
Yeah, you're getting a lot of energy from the protests of healthcare. To that point, though, when you talk about jobs, you hear from somebody like Keith Ellison, who essentially his message is we are going to resist Donald Trump, or we should try to impeach Donald Trump a couple of weeks into office. It's a pretty negative message. You got Tom Perez on the other side, who somehow has managed to make himself the reasonable middle-of-the-road guy when for so long he's been a very staunch progressive liberal.
Well, I think what Representative Ellison said is, yes, he's got to be sort of that symbol against resistance towards Donald Trump. But he also said yesterday when he spoke to the African-American caucus, and you mentioned that these different caucuses had all the people running for office come to their caucuses. The thing he talked about is that we've got to have a platform that really resonates with the American people, and I think we're going to have that when we come out today.
Is this now or never?
I think that the selection of the DNC chair is just the beginning of our pathway towards regaining power in the Senate and in the House. And also, we've got to focus on governor's races, mayor's races all across the country.
Well, yeah, and also 31 of 50 House legislatures, state legislatures you guys don't have.
Yep.
We appreciate it. Come back and talk to us once there is a new DNC chair. We'll see what you think of them and where the future holds.
Thank you.
All right.